Hello and welcome back to Afterglow, and you're listening to episode number 27. Today I'm going to be talking about Mega Man X. Mega Man's easily one of my favorite franchises out there. X was the beginning of, like, an expansion of the franchise, in my opinion, where you had the Mega Man timeline, then you had the Mega Man X timeline, and it gets more convoluted from there. You'll eventually get the Mega Man Zero timeline, the ZX timeline. There's a few others mixed in there. But X, story-wise, is easily one of my favorites. It's just a fantastic game, and it took Mega Man to the next level as far as graphics, as far as gameplay, as far as introducing new mechanics. It's just a fantastic game. Easily one of my favorites. But after the music cut, we'll be talking about Mega Man X. Okay, so my memories of Mega Man X actually start, I believe I was maybe a freshman or a sophomore in high school. I already knew that I loved the Mega Man franchise. I believe at this point I had 2 and 3 on the NES. And I was talking to a friend, and they had a copy of Mega Man X that I had swapped the game for to try, and I was easily blown away by this game. I love the fact that there is an intro stage behind it. Uh, I thought it was kind of unique that the first boss that you get to, Vile, you have to lose to him in order to proceed, but you have to lose in a certain way. The first time I fought Vile, he actually killed me. I lost a life, which normally doesn't happen. Let me explain the boss fight, though. Whenever you get to a certain level of life, he starts firing a different projectile at you that will stun you, but you still take contact damage on them. So if he starts firing these and you somehow dodge a few, but you get to contact him, you'll take damage and you can actually lose a life this way. So, funny story there. First time I fought Vile, I actually did lose a life. But going on about the game, I was blown away. Like, the soundtrack was amazing, and that's no small feat because Capcom's known for their great music, at least in my opinion. 8-bit, 16-bit, Capcom has some of the best music for those consoles out there, and I think the music for Mega Man X is a step above even their lofty standards to begin with. But going back to my experiences with Mega Man X as a kid, I lucked out. I chose Chill Penguin as the first boss to take on, and the game kind of wants you to take on Chill Penguin first, even though it doesn't really tell you. Because in Mega Man X, you can upgrade Mega Man not just through beating bosses and getting their power ability, but by finding these capsules that are hidden throughout levels. Well, most of them are hidden. The one in Chill Penguin stage is out there in plain sight. You can't miss it, and there's actually no way of going on without collecting the capsule. And this is really a cool feature, at least in my opinion, because the upgrades change your sprite a little bit, and it made me want to go back and look for those other upgrades because I really liked the new look that those upgrades gave my character. And on top of that, this game has changes from the regular Mega Man games. Like in the regular Mega Man games, the energy tanks that you use to refill your health were just disposable. You use it, you lose it. Whereas in this game, there's only 4 energy tanks, but they're refillable. If you got full life, some of the energy you pick up goes into one of those E-tanks. Weapon energy, if you're using like your regular buster, and you come across some weapon energy and you pick it up in the original Mega Man games, you just don't get it. In this one, that energy is allocated to your weapon that has the least amount of energy, which is a really, really nice touch in my opinion. There's also the heart tanks you can find to expand your life meter. So, like, I was so addicted to this, I scoured each level looking for all the upgrades, and I just tore through this game trying to more or less max out my Mega Man. So after that, you go through your regular 8 bosses and you go through Sigma's Fortress. Now remember, these are some wild bosses. Like there's a spider boss, and I really struggled with this spider boss because he has these rods that come down. And he follows the rods. There is a pattern. But after he lands, there's a brief moment that you can do damage to him before he goes up and then does the attack again. It can be really, really tricky. There's also one boss I thought was cool. The boss is like the room itself. It has walls that'll enclose on you with spikes that'll come up, and you have to try to damage the parts of the room while staying on the wall, because if you hit the spikes, of course, you die. And then the final Sigma fight, it was brutal back then. I did not know of the trick of refilling all your life and energy by using the little enemies that come out of the wall on the way up to that final boss. So you get to the final boss, and first you fight as a dog, which I thought was a cool touch because Mega Man had Rush, and Sigma has this other robot dog that he's got that attacks you. You manage to kill it pretty quickly once you figure out its pattern. Then Sigma himself attacks you. He's got a pattern too, but it's a lot trickier to figure out, but you can eventually figure out. Although I will say that I think that the Sigma's lightsaber thing is a straight ripoff, although, you know, Zero has his Z-saber too. This is Star Wars ripoff in my opinion. It's a lightsaber. But then you beat Sigma, and his head goes into this giant wolf-like thing, and it's got these arms that you have to get on to be able to hit the head, but they're constantly shooting these electrical attacks at you. It's a heck of a final boss, but it's incredible fun. And then the game kind of ends on a cliffhanger, because it's got X standing out over a cliffside, and he's kind of contemplating his future, which it was kind of a darker ending for a Mega Man game. But if I was not a Mega Man fan before, and I was, but Mega Man X just solidified my love for the franchise and the series. Just an absolute blast from front to back. But I eventually got my own copy. It took a while, but I found one at a used game store, fairly cheap. Definitely picked it up whenever that's Mega Man X, totally picking that up. And, of course, ran through the game again and loved it. Later on, the game was kind of like remade, called Maverick Hunter X for the PSP, and that's another one I had to buy immediately. And I'm kind of two minds in Maverick Hunter X. I like the upgraded graphics, I like the fact that they kind of mixed up where some of the upgrades were to where if you knew the game, it was still a little different. There was new stuff to discover. And then it added Vile mode where you could play as Vile and be the bad guy going through the game. And he has a completely different gameplay mechanic where you have to allocate points to equip certain weapons. And that mode was a blast. I loved Vile mode. But there are a couple of negatives. For one, the music. The music on the Super Nintendo version had almost like a rock and roll and heavy metal feel to it, whereas they changed it with a bunch like synth stuff on the PSP version. It's still good music, but it's not as good as the Super Nintendo version, in my opinion, as far as music. Gameplay, again, it's better. It expanded the game. Graphic wise, it's take it or leave it. I mean, they changed it to polygonal 3D graphics, even though the game was on a 2D plane. To me, I do like it, but at the same time, the sprite work of the original game looked beautiful. And it's a different game, in my opinion. It's still really, really good, and it's enjoyable, but it's also it's not the Super Nintendo game. So I have to recommend play both, believe it or not. Like if you like Mega Man, play the Super Nintendo version for sure, but also play that PSP version because it's honestly a lot of fun. It's different. And that's the one thing that I can't reiterate it enough. Is it Mega Man X still? Yeah, but it's a different version of it. Also, the anime thing that they put in it. I believe it's like about half an hour called Deus Sigma. It gives all the events leading up to the first game. Is a blast to watch, even though canonically there's some weird changes. Like one of the people getting killed off in the anime, that's actually that character makes an appearance in Mega Man 2. So I don't know whether they were planning on making Maverick Hunter X2 or not and not having that character, but that was kind of different. But just again, an amazing game. Like if you haven't played Mega Man X for some reason, go out and play it. Like to me, it competes with some of the best platformers out there. It competes with Mario World and Mario 3. An absolute top class game. So I'm going to close this episode out with that. Enjoy the outro music, and hopefully I'll see you again on the next episode of Afterglow.